right, so today we're going to be doing a deep dive into all this stuff about Apple. We've got a stack of articles here, and looks like 2025, they're starting off with some big moves.
Yeah, they're off to a pretty big start to the year for sure.
We're talking like a brand new iPhone SE, potential shakeups in the whole smartphone market, even Apple making some moves internationally.
Yeah, you know what I think is really fascinating here is how all these individual announcements are actually kind of pointing to some bigger trends that we're seeing in the entire tech world.
Okay, let's break this down. First up, the iPhone SE 4. Articles are saying is launching next week. And like a total redesign, finally ditching that old iPhone 8 body.
Yeah, and that's significant because the SE line has always been about offering iPhone power at a lower price.
Yeah,
But adopting the iPhone 14 aesthetic, Apple is signaling that even their a budget-friendly option is
uh,
getting a serious upgrade.
and they're ditching the home button completely. That little button has been on every iPhone since 2007. That's got to be a big deal for Apple, right?
Oh, it's symbolic for sure. Think about it, the home button, that was a signature design element for over a decade. So phasing it out entirely suggests that Apple is confident in the future of Face ID and the whole gesture-based navigation thing.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. It will be interesting to see how people adapt to that. Speaking of adapting, what about all this new tech that's supposed to be inside this phone?
Hmm.
They're talking about a new A18 chip.
Mm.
And wait for it, Apple's own 5G modem.
Yeah, that in-house modem is huge, not just because it allows Apple to control even more of the iPhone ecosystem, which could lead to, better performance battery life, but it also reduces their reliance on Qualcomm, which gives them more negotiating power, more flexibility in the supply chain.
So it's more than just saving money. It's about control.
Exactly. It's a
Mm.
strategic move with some pretty big implications for Apple's future.
Okay, so new phone cool features. But why should our listener care about all this?
This is bigger than just a new gadget, right? It's about Apple's strategy on a bunch of different fronts. First, they want to boost iPhone sales. They took a little dip last quarter, so a more appealing SE could pull in those budget-conscious buyers, maybe even tempt some Android users.
Right, like a gateway to the Apple world. What about that in-house modem, though? That sounds like more than just cost cutting.
Exactly. It's about long-term control and innovation. They can now tailor that modem to their specific hardware and software, potentially squeezing out performance gains that their competitors can't match, and this could have ripple effects across their whole product line.
The articles also mentioned Apple pumping a ton of investment into Indonesia. What's the deal with that?
Southeast Asia is a massive and growing tech market, so Apple's increased investment there shows they're serious about competing with companies like Samsung and Xiaomi, who already have a really strong foothold in the region.
So it's not just about phones, it's about global dominance. Exactly. They're playing the long game here. But it's not just about throwing money around. Apple needs a solid strategy to actually penetrate a market that's already pretty saturated. They'll need to really think about pricing, marketing, and even potentially adapting their products to better suit the needs and preferences of Southeast Asian consumers.
That makes sense. It'll be fascinating to see how they approach this. Speaking of expanding their reach, the articles also mentioned a bunch of other Apple products coming out soon. New PowerBeats Pro earbuds, a MacBook Air with an M4 chip, new iPads. Seems like they got no plans to slow down.
Yeah, this constant stream of new product updates. It's classic Apple, right? They want to make sure they have something new and exciting for every type of consumer, whether you're a music lover, creative professional.
Or just someone who needs a reliable tablet.
Yeah, yeah, it's like almost hard to keep up with all the new gadgets. But I guess that's part of what we do here, breaking it all down and figuring out what's really significant.
Exactly. And speaking of significant, let's talk about that rumored price increase for the iPhone SE. Supposedly going to be around 500 bucks, which is a pretty big jump from the current model.
Yeah, I saw that. Do you think that higher price tag might make some people hesitate?
It's a gamble for sure. Apple's betting that the new design and the upgraded features will justify the extra cost. They're hoping consumers will see it as more of a premium iPhone experience, less of a budget device.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, especially with so much competition from other smartphone makers who are offering some impressive devices
Yeah,
at lower prices.
absolutely. The smartphone market is more crowded than ever, and Apple can't just coast on their brand name anymore. They need to keep innovating,
Hmm.
keep offering products that really stand out.
So taking a step back, we've got this new iPhone SE, Apple's expansion into new markets, a whole pipeline of new products.
Yeah.
That's a lot to digest. What do you think is the biggest takeaway for our listeners?
I think the key takeaway here is Apple's relentless push for growth and control. The iPhone SE 4, that's a strategic move to grab more market share, attract new customers. And that in-house 5G modem, that gives them more control over their technology and supply chain.
And their move into Indonesia shows they're not just focused on the U.S. market. They're thinking globally.
Exactly. They're playing the long game here, positioning themselves for success well into the future.
So this new iPhone SE, it's supposed to be announced next week, right? Do you think they'll have a big event for that? Or just like quietly announce it with a press release?
Based on what they've done in the past, I'd say they'll probably just go with a quiet online announcement. The SE line has always been treated more like a mid-cycle update, not really worthy of a big event.
Makes sense. I'm sure all the tech reviewers will still be dissecting every little detail.
Oh, absolutely. And that brings up an interesting point. All this news, all these announcements, it's generating a lot of hype and anticipation.
Which is exactly what Apple wants, right? Build up the excitement.
Of course. But here's the thing. Hype can be a double-edged sword. If this iPhone SE doesn't live up to expectations, if people think it's too expensive or not innovative enough, it could backfire.
Yeah, it's definitely a risk when you build up that much excitement.
And that risk is even bigger now because Apple's facing tougher competition than ever before. Companies like Samsung and Google are closing the gap. In terms of technology and design, consumers have more choices, and they're not afraid to switch brands if they feel like they're getting a better deal.
So what does that mean for Apple? Do they need to change their strategy?
I think they need to be really careful about managing expectations. They can't just rely on their brand name anymore. They need to deliver products that truly impress people, products that justify those premium prices. They need to show that they're still innovating, still pushing the limits of what's possible in smartphones.
It's a high-stakes game for sure.
Hmm.
There's a lot riding on these new releases.
Absolutely. And it'll be fascinating to see how Apple navigates these challenges in the coming months and years.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground today. New iPhone international expansion glimpse into Apple's future. What do you think stands out the most to you?
I think what stands out to me is the sheer scope of Apple's ambitions. They're not content with just dominating smartphones. They're pushing into new areas, developing their own tech, building an ecosystem that covers everything from music and fitness to AR.
It's like they want to be a part of every part of our digital lives.
Exactly. And that's a pretty powerful position to be in, but it also comes with a lot of responsibility.
Responsibility to their customers, their investors, the world in general.
And to the future of technology itself. Their decisions have a huge impact. They influence not just the products we use, but the way we live and interact with the world.
Wow, when you put it like that, it really puts things into perspective. It's not just about shiny new gadgets. It's about the bigger picture, the impact Apple has on society.
Exactly. That's what makes this so interesting to me. It's not just about the tech. It's about the people, the ideas, the dreams behind it all.
Well said. Speaking of dreams, do you think Apple will be able to achieve all of their goals? Or will they stumble along the way?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Only time will tell.
Oh, one thing's for sure.
Yeah.
We'll be here dissecting it all every step of the way.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe we'll even get to try out that new iPhone SE. Do another deep dive into all the features and how it performs.
That would be fun. But for now, let's switch gears a bit and explore some of the challenges and opportunities ahead for Apple in this ever-changing tech world. Okay, so let's talk about those challenges and opportunities. This new iPhone SE launching next week, it feels like a real test for Apple. Can they really appeal to those budget-minded folks out there without, compromising on that premium Apple experience?
Yeah, it's a tough balancing act for sure. And with the rumors of a price hike, they're really going to have to deliver some serious value to convince people to open their wallets, especially with so many other great phones already out there.
Right, it makes you think, who's Apple going after with this phone? Are they trying to pull in those long-time Android users? Or maybe those iPhone users who are looking to upgrade but don't want to spend a fortune?
I think it could be both, On one hand, they need to show their loyal customers that they haven't forgotten about the people who want a good deal, but they also got to show those potential switchers that iPhone doesn't always have to mean breaking the bank.
And then there's that whole in-house 5G modem thing. That's a big gamble. But if it works, it could give Apple a huge advantage.
Think about it. Better performance, longer battery life, and they can really integrate that modem with all the other components. Maybe even come up with features we haven't even thought of yet.
It's exciting to think about, for sure. But what about the downsides? What if there are technical glitches or compatibility issues? Could that hurt their reputation?
Oh, absolutely. Consumer trust is a fragile thing, especially in the tech world. If they have any big problems with that modem, It could really damage people's confidence in their products, and that would give their rivals an opening.
Yeah, it's a classic high-risk, high-reward situation.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what makes the tech world so interesting, right? All that innovation and competition pushing the boundaries.
Exactly. And it's creating opportunities for everyone. Consumers have more choices than ever before, and companies have to work harder to stay competitive, both on price and on features.
So what does all this mean for our listeners? Well, if you're thinking about a new phone, that iPhone SE 4 might be worth a look.
Yeah, but definitely do your research, read the reviews, compare prices, make sure it really fits what you need.
And remember, Apple's not the only game in town. There are tons of amazing smartphones out there, from Samsung, Google, OnePlus, and more. So don't be afraid to shop around.
Yeah, the best phone is the one that works for you. There's no right answer for everyone.
So we've had this deep dive into Apple's latest moves. What stands out to you? Is it the technology, the strategy, or maybe like the bigger picture of what this means for the tech world?
I think for me, it's just how ambitious Apple is. They're not just happy ruling the smartphone world, they're pushing into new areas, developing their own tech, building this ecosystem that covers everything from music and fitness to augmented reality.
It's like they want to be a part of every aspect of our digital lives.
Exactly. And that's a lot of power, but it also comes with a lot of responsibility
Responsibility to their customers, to their investors, to the world.
and to the future of technology. Their decisions have a huge ripple effect. They shape not just the gadgets we use, but how we live and interact with the world around us.
It really puts things into perspective. It's not just about having the latest and greatest phone. It's about understanding the impact these companies have on us.
That's right. And that's why it's so important to stay informed, keep asking questions, and be mindful of the choices we make.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from that new iPhone SE to Apple's global ambitions, and it's clear they're not slowing down anytime soon. But the big question remains, can they maintain their dominance in this ever-changing tech landscape? Or will they face new challenges that could change everything? It's a story that's still being written, and we'll be here to follow it every step of the way.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.